Man, so I was gonna make a video talking about Netflix. I don't even have an account. I was using my friend's account and we put too many devices, and recently we had to change that. So maybe that means a lot more subscribers, but I haven't got one. So before I talk about what's gonna happen with their stock, if any of you guys have a Netflix account you wanna hook me up with, put that shit in the comments. I love y'all. All right, so I was gonna do it downstairs, show you guys the Netflix, but I couldn't even log in. I will talk about some stuff. I actually think going through it on Netflix gives you guys a better idea of some of the metrics we're gonna be looking at for earnings, but Netflix is reporting tomorrow, and I think this is really cool to talk about because, you know, we're seeing where the market is, especially after last week. Hopefully that wind's not too loud. It's really windy in LA right now. But it's, you know, this earnings is going to be impactful. This is going to be the first of these tech stocks, you know, are FANG, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So I want to talk about what people are looking for and how this is even related to the market. And, you know, I'm going to start with the market. We're coming on this downtrend. This has been, you know, some of the worst weeks and months since 2011, 2012. This has been a crazy, you know, it's escalated very fast into a very historical downside move on the market. People are still unsure if it could turn us into a bear market or a recession. I don't think so. However, it's still notable, and the market dynamic is at risk to change. You know, if things bounce 3-4% like they usually do from these in the next, you know, 1 to 6 months, we're normal, but people are still kind of more worried. And again, the reasoning. So coming into this earnings is going to be important. It's going to be important to see what effects are on all the broad companies. The bank started, market had a good response, but then gave it back. So now this is going to be important to see where tech's at. Now, Netflix is going to be important. What we're looking for, you could play it tomorrow. I will say it's interesting because the calls are cheap. I'm saying that because I bought calls a month ago, and right off the bat though, this is what I'm worried about. This could either be an opportunity or the market is truly pricing it in, and this is, you know, where money's made, and this is how you decide. But the calls are very, very cheap, and Netflix is running different than the last few earnings. It's, you know, you're not seeing a run up into earnings. It's because the market has dropped a lot. The premiums on these contracts are very, very low. There's still a lot of implied volatility, but for the most part, compared to what they were going for a few weeks ago, and if this drop didn't happen, earnings would have been a lot different. So can you play it? Yes, but again, the expectations might be, or the move might be muted. But now, talking about expectations, Netflix is going to be an interesting one. They missed last quarter. They had that big drop. They guided down, and, you know, it's interesting to see now, even though they guided down, they are still expected by the street, you know, the consensus, what everyone's expecting. They're still expected to do better and still perform above even the company's own expectations. So we're going to see how investors respond to that. But I think they have a better chance of going up, and there's good things. But again, we don't know. You know, really, to say Netflix's earnings is going to be good and that it's going to affect the broader market is looking at those factors. So now, looking at the earnings for Netflix, the big, oh man, that's a loud car, but you guys have to see this spider. It's huge. But you know what to look for. What I'm saying, to see if Netflix is a good, you know, stock, or if everything is, you know, how are investors looking at this report. You know, number one, we're going to be looking, you know, revenue is important, but more important is always the subscriber growth. That is huge. And now there's two segments of that. There's the growth in the United States, and now also in Asia, and then also international. And that's what I was going to show you guys on the screen. You know, notice if you guys ever scroll through Netflix, you'll see a lot of foreign and international shows and Indian movies. That's because it's a really big market, and they're trying to get that content to expand and get in those areas. So we're going to be looking for the user growth. I think they're expecting like 600,000 additions in the US. I think some people want 1 million, and then a pretty large number in China. So that's one thing. And the next part, ooh, you guys see those reflexes? Those are great reflexes. That wind, man, I'm telling you. But the next part is going to be progress in Asia. This one isn't going to be as important unless there's like a bombshell that it has backtracked, but it is still very important. They want to see what Netflix has done in Asia, where they're going, and how things are unfolding with their plan to get out there and work with the Chinese government, especially China, not only Asia. But that's one. The next thing they're going to be looking at is the margins or the price. They want to see how much both, there's two levels of margin margin and price. There's one, how many more active people are paying for Netflix versus not paying. And that means, you know, you'd be surprised, millions of users have free trials and they've had people at such different price points. They've raised prices, this and that. Not everybody's always paying. And if you go through, you know, if you've never been aware of that, look through the earnings report on Netflix and you'll get to see what people, you know, that metric as they talk about how many people are actively paying free, if they're monetizing all their members. So there's user growth, then there's how many of those users are paying and active, and then the next part now is the price. And that's a big thing that people want to see, is that as Netflix raises the price, even if their user growth isn't as good, they could still now hit some of these future expectations for earnings, which is what investors are looking for, because that's what Apple did. You know, Apple started selling less iPhones but raised the price. Their margins went up so much that Apple's still making record profits. They're making more money than when they were selling the most iPhones ever, but that's because they raised the prices, and you know, that's accounting and stocks and margin stuff all at its finest. So there's that. You know, people are going to look for effects of like the dollar and stuff, and that might have effect. They will be interesting to see, but a company like Netflix isn't really going to get hit too much by that. But as far as earnings, you know, I'm looking for that user growth. I'm looking, and now a lot of people are even talking, I'm not too big of a fan, but this does take into context how Netflix spends their money, so it's important. People want to see the updates with the series. They want to see how these original series have performed. They want to know about, you know, what is Netflix planning to do for their budget. And then lastly, coming into this final holiday season, people, you know, I think the next quarter after this is going to be one of their hottest too. People want to know what's going on. People want to see how things are ramping up and how everything is moving in this direction for Netflix. And, you know, those are two factors, so don't let me get ahead of myself, but I want to make sure too you guys understand how they spend money is going to be one thing, the performance of those shows and movies they went, and then now, you know, everything else in general. But that's kind of really what I'm looking for. That's what a lot of investors, man, this wind is gnarly. That's what a lot of investors are going to be looking for. So it's going to be very interesting. I can't wait to play it. I'm more excited to see what it means for the overall market. I think, is there a surprise factor? And what I mean by that is there a chance for Netflix to do a crazy move and, you know, have a crazy option play? I think so. I have money on it. I have a little bit amount of money. And I only say that because it's last earnings and expectations. The stock is still down. We've had that big move, but I think just as easily as there could be a surprise, I think something great could happen to Netflix, or a surprise up or down. Though it doesn't mean it's always going up, but I do think whatever happens to the market in general after that surprise will mute that reaction. And, you know, so again, if something good happened, I think the market would go down anyways, and the market wouldn't like something about it, or just in general the market goes down, we break new support levels, and I think it would drop it down with it. So confusing situation, I know, but this is now really a start of earnings season. We're going to kick off. I encourage you guys to pay attention to the option contracts out there, the plays, start preparing, start noticing what's making these moves, practice for next earnings season, paper trades, start learning this. You really can't go wrong. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys enjoy it. Be safe trading. Love y'all. Subscribe. You probably are. Like the video. Comment. Stay in school. Stay in touch. Bye.